Hello, and welcome to episode 7 of the Larger Unnecessary 7.
A Larger Unnecessary 7?
Aye, a Larger Unnecessary 7.
I've always felt we could do away with the number 7.
You think so?
Just have...
It's a lot of people's lucky numbers. 7's a popular one.
Really?
You ask somebody to name a number between 1 and 10, pretty much guaranteed.
I would say 8 every time.
But you're just weird though.
I think 7 should be abolished and replaced with 8A.
8A?
Yeah.
I thought
we could get rid of 9 and make that 8B.
8A would surely come after 8.
I don't know. Not in house numbering. It's a bit weird.
Aye, it does.
It's like a basement level.
You're talking to a postie about house numbering.
Aye, well, I've seen houses. I know what they look like. I know where their numbers are. It's not just a privilege of posties.
Anyway, as I was saying, episode 7 of the Larger 7.
You just had to get that.
Episode 7 of the Large and Unnecessary First Player Token podcast. Right, there we go, I've done that bit now.
Cool. Managed it. Alright, well...
7?
Yeah, 7.
7 episodes, man.
Well, we're here.
We are here. We've not got a themed episode this time, though.
No, we're just winging it as usual.
Aye.
I think we're back to that.
We're just... we're back to having a normal episode. We've done a bit of video gaming, but it's been quite concentrated video gaming, I would say.
I think we've
pretty much
stuck to our guns, really.
We've played the same game, pretty much. You've played yours, I've played mine.
I have more feelings about Metal Gear Solid, all of them pretty much the same ones that I was having when I talked about it before. Now moved on to the Angolaries. I think I've mentioned, I will every so often bring it up, and I'll mention at this point that I may drop spoilers by mistake. I'll try not to.
I'm fine with spoilers.
You don't care.
Because I'm not going to play it, probably. So.
Probably, fair enough.
I've been watching you, so it's already spoiled.
You've got the idea. Aye. Well, basically, I've reached Africa and I'm knocking about there. The story seems to be progressing, and it's all very interesting. So yeah, that's been something I've been doing.
Cool.
But we're not here to talk about that this week.
No, we're not. What about board games? We've got a couple of things to talk about in board games. We've not done too much board gaming lately.
No,
you keep buggering off places, so
I think we could blame all these people that won't come down to the house to play a game. Just all it requires all it requires a couple of hours of your time.
Maybe usually takes longer.
Maybe some chips.
Well, Pawel usually brings lots of popcorn.
I
hate popcorn.
He brings minstrels as well.
I do like minstrels. So he redeems himself there. Speaking of Pawel, we've not actually got our Pawel segment this week.
Right.
We did promise it, but... Well, I don't know if we promised it, but we did say that it would be here on this episode.
We made some vague allusions to putting it on the next episode.
Yeah, but the problem is, I listened to it, and it basically needed to be redone. I think the professional term is technical errors, or technical issues.
Good. We won't talk at this point of the amount of stuff that we've had to redo over the weeks.
We've had to re-record so much shit. But basically, yeah, he's not had much time to actually get the episode, get his segment to us. So there will be no Pawel this week, and I know that he's popular amongst the fans of the show.
Oh yeah,
I've got a name for the fans. Like believers and stuff like that.
I can't think of anything that would really fit. We've got such a unwieldy
I don't want to just go with first players, because that just sounds...
What about largies?
The largies. The unnecessaries, I think.
That's pretty At least
good.
then it doesn't sound like we're calling anybody fat.
Just useless.
Which, strangely enough, people seem to be far more willing to accept.
That's true,
yeah.
I'd rather somebody call me
some
useless.
Some people almost wear
fat.
it as a badge of honour. I'm useless, me.
That useless guy at work that doesn't get any actual work to do because he's useless. He's living the dream. Right. So anyway, let's shift forward with this then. We'll talk about video games first this time round. I think
straight into it.
Okay, let's go. Right, so video games, Euan, and yet again we've broken our habit of not playing blockbuster games.
I know, it's a bit strange. I think, and we must be entering... Now that the frivolity of Halloween's out the way and we're on to the Christmas season in ours, we must be, gearing up for, the Christmas games list.
What are we gearing up for? I'm not sure.
I don't know, just talking around standing around the turkey, talking about
Is that like standing around the water?
Yeah. One hand on the table.
That's it. One hand on a carving knife.
What are we... Yeah, so
that was good that you did the hand movement there for podcasting.
For the listeners, a bit of visual.
That was you doing an impression of somebody carving a turkey that you could all clearly see.
The guy wasn't carving the turkey, he was just rubbing the knife on the table.
Sharpening it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, so blockbuster games we're talking.
Blockbusters.
So I bought Assassin's Creed Syndicate.
You bought it.
And a moment of complete madness, to be honest.
I was wondering what really possessed you, because I've never known you to be...
It was my girlfriend talking about it, actually. She was saying that she thought it was an interesting tagline, and it was something to do with, the redistribution of wealth. I don't know what the tagline is exactly, but I can't remember. But
it's just like the entire game is the Thomas Paine pamphlet.
Yeah, that's it. But it's set in Victorian London sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I've only ever played one Assassin's Creed game, and I think it was the second one. I was running about in Renaissance Italy. I remember meeting Leonardo da Vinci at one point. I didn't play it very much though, and I think I got maybe about halfway through it and just got pretty bored.
Yeah.
It was just kind of samey. But I just I haven't played any of the other Assassin's Creed games. Okay. I know nothing about this weird story that's running through the whole thing.
So coming into this fresh then.
So I have come into this pretty much fresh, because I remember really nothing about Assassin's Creed 2, whatever one it was I played. So yeah, Assassin's Creed Syndicate, you're playing in Victorian London, like I said, and you're controlling two characters, which I think is a first for the Assassin's Creed games, where you're not just controlling the same person all the way through the game.
Yeah.
You're actually, it's two twins, they're called Jacob and Evie Fry, I think. Right. Or Frey, or Fry, something.
Fry.
We'll go with Fry, why not?
Sounds about right.
Jacob and Stephen Fry. And and they're both assassins, and there's some weird story going through the whole Assassin's Creed game by the looks of it, where there's actually it's people in the modern time that are seeing through the eyes of these assassins, and I'm not entirely sure what's going on there.
Yeah.
So don't expect much chat out of me about that.
Okay.
I don't know if you know anything about it, do you?
Well, I was going to bring that up. I didn't know how much we wanted to get into that at the start, because it's it does seem to be an overarching thing with all the games, and I think there is, from what I gather, there is a kind of plot strand that's run through all of the games that connects these things, which to me, it's interesting, but it also seems like...
It seems completely unnecessary to me.
I think they've tried to have it there, but also, I don't think the whole future element of it really figures in any sort of useful way, and it's maybe there for the hardcore fans, but I mean, I don't know who's a hardcore fan of an Assassin's Creed.
Who's that for?
Who's that for? Who are these people that are totally diehard, oh yeah, Assassin's Creed, my thing, man. It's in the way that we talked about Shenmue before, where it has this kind of sort of core following. I mean, and you get this with a lot of games where there'll be people who are really into it, really into the lore and everything like that.
I think the difference there, though, with Shenmue, that you feel you know the character sort of thing. Whereas
maybe not a great example.
I know. But like in Assassin's Creed, it just feels like it's all just kind of been patched together a bit.
Yeah, well, I suppose the one I'm obviously talking about, Metal Gear Solid, bad again, but that's another one where it's got this kind of, there is a sort of core mythology to it that there will be fans of. I don't see who's that for Assassin's Creed. who feels like that about a Ubisoft game? It just doesn't tally for me, and I think it's they could just do away with it, and
it wouldn't make any difference to the games really.
Just stick to the main story of the game.
Is it maybe something that they just threw into the first Assassin's Creed, and then when they realised we better keep this going?
We've got to somehow keep it. I mean, because I did see there's there was apparently all these shocking bits in previous games to do with that. Right. It's somebody's backstabbed so and so, but it's all happened in the future, but it affects the pattern.
Right. Okay.
It's
pretty convoluted by the sounds of it.
Basically, yeah, and it seemed to just muddy the waters a bit when it comes to understanding what's going on with this game that you've started playing. I mean, I watched you play a fair chunk of the sort of basically intro
Yeah,
to
yeah.
the game.
Which, like, the intro to the game, well, if you know what an Assassin's Creed game is, I'm sure you probably do, but it's basically like a sort of stealthy, free-running game sort of thing. So you can, like, run up and down walls, climb up and down anything, pretty much, that's in the game, and you can do all these sort of, like, stealth attacks, and there are various things in Syndicate that you can do. You know, you can knock people out and stuff like that, or you can, you know, just creep up behind them and slit their throat. And some of the animations and stuff, some of the sort of the combat animations and stuff in Syndicate, it's actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think some of it's like, you know, like you're walking up behind a police officer and then all of a sudden you've tripped them up and then you're stabbing them in the throat repeatedly. Seems a bit unnecessary and over the top.
Fair
but
enough. Yeah, it just seemed they've kind of
just
gone
minding
for
their own
that
business.
slightly sort of like brutal street thug kind of violence in it.
Yeah, aye. And I suppose the characters in it, Jacob and Eve, they're kind of, they are almost kind of street thug, street punky type guys.
Urchins.
And there's some story going on with their father, who was looking for this piece of Eden or something like that, and they became a bit fanatical about it. I don't really know very much about that.
Yeah,
but
they were going on about these pieces of Eden at this time.
Eve, the female twin, she's sort of more interested in the piece of Eden sort of thing, and she's like much more of a stealthy character, and she's
the one that's not a tube, basically.
yeah, and Jacob is a tube.
Right. He's your typical tube.
He's slightly annoying, but he's a hell of a lot better at combat, especially when he's skills and stuff like that. Because there's a sort of skill tree and stuff like that in this game, so your two characters, they share the sort of same skill tree, except there's like, they've got 3 skills each or something that the other character can't get, but everything else in it's the same. So I've basically been upgrading Eve to make her like much more stealthy, sort of, you know, she can find more resources and stuff like that as well. So I'm basically using Eve as my main character when I'm just running about the map.
So can you choose at certain times?
Yeah, so you can pause the game pretty much at any point and then switch to the other person, and they just go instantly to where the... So if you switch to Jacob, then you'll just pop in where Evie was.
Right.
I think there are some points where you can't do that, but like some missions and stuff are specific to the characters, and you know, Evie has to go and do most of the stealthy missions.
Right.
If you're going in just swinging at people, then Jacob's the man that's doing that. And I don't know, I mean, it's quite interesting. It's what I'm actually really enjoying about it. When I first started playing the game, when you saw me playing the intro, I thought, like, the intro wasn't great, like, in terms of the gameplay. Like, it was just, it felt like, right, I've bought an Assassin's Creed game here, these are supposed to be really sort of stealthy games. This game isn't doing anything that some other games have, like, haven't already done, sort of thing. In terms of just like stealth and stuff like that. But actually, once you get past that, once you actually start playing the game proper, and you get a bit more of a feel for it, it feels like its own thing.
That's quick.
It's holding its own sort of
It's
thing.
easy to kind of get that impression from an early sort of like look at a game and you think, oh well, you know, it's not as if there's any genres that have been completely like left alone. So you're going to instantly compare it to other things. I mean, obviously, again, Metal Gear Solid, playing that, I was like looking at what you're doing, and I was like, like kind of like thinking about how they sort of compare in terms of the stealth part of it.
Indeed. And
the choice.
I think like the bits that you sort of watched me play, like I say, were a bit basic, but now it's much more involved. And in fact, at one point in this game, and this is a bit of I'd say it's a spoiler warning, but it's not really, because you get it so early on that you get a grappling hook, basically.
All right.
Each of the characters gets a grappling hook. So,
I don't think that's a spoiler at all.
And this is apparently a totally new thing in an Assassin's Creed game. Like, you always had to climb up walls, but this is just like really just made that completely change the whole thing, sort of thing, because
less laborious, certainly.
You can now just stand at the bottom of a building and then just press L1 and shoot straight to the top of it.
Classic.
Just sort of jumping up the wall as you go really quickly, sort of thing. And you can also use this grappling hook to actually like grapple to another building and then walk across, or sorry, not walk, but slide across, sort of thing.
Right, yeah, okay.
So that you can, and it's become almost like the Batman game, sort of thing.
Well, yeah,
it's got a similar combat style as
there.
well, with the whole counters and
does it?
Yeah, and the breaking defenses.
It really has
and
become
stuff
quite
like
ubiquitous. That
it does, and
the old square and triangle.
There's probably a reason for that. I mean, it
works.
It's a really simple combat system, but it looks cool as fuck. It always does in all these games.
Yeah.
The Batman ones, when I first saw that first Batman game, when they used that, I was jizzing in my pants,
it does
basically,
look amazing,
because it looked incredible. Especially being a jiu-jitsu practitioner, and you saw all the jiu-jitsu that was happening.
Yeah.
And you were sitting there going, this is amazing.
And that's the thing, you're not always seeing the same attack happen, you know, you're seeing something different. And, you know, it's not as if there's not skill to doing it as well. It can be quite challenging.
Aye. And like I say, the combat animations in Assassin's Creed Syndicate are kind of over the top. Especially if you're like near a wall or something like that, or the side of a gaping hole and stuff like that. They go insane when they knock these people out.
Everything to them.
Some of the funnier ones are just like when you've got 3 people to a near-death state and then you attack one of them because it just does some crazy animation that takes all 3 of them out at once, and and it's quite fun. They've obviously done a lot of work on it. Sort of thing.
Yeah.
I'm actually really enjoying it, which is surprising because when I bought it, I thought, I've probably made a mistake here. Like, I remember getting bored of that second Assassin's Creed game, but I'll give this one a chance. And I have to say, I'll stick with it, I think, because I'm actually pretty enjoying it.
Oh.
And there's a lot of things going on in it. I met Charles Dickens. I also met Alexander Graham Bell.
Oh, right.
Who's very Scottish.
Aye. Does he shout at you through a paper cup?
No, he's just a weird character, I think. He doesn't know. Yeah, you have to go and help him.
Would you like to use my invention?
Aye, basically, he's like,
stand over there, son. Oh, for fuck's sake, Alex, come on.
Excuse me. You gave me your cold, you and your bastard.
I'm still.
It's the
passing
cough.
it.
It's
you
the
know,
phlegm.
yeah. Just sits on the chest.
Not good for podcasting.
Oh, that's grim.
But yeah, Alexander Graham Bell, when you first meet him, he asks you to go and stick some fuses in some really high buildings, including Big Ben. Just because why not?
Aye.
But there's also the's got that standard thing, like, you know, like in all these sort of style of games, there's things to collect and all this, and they've got the little
Get that content in there. You know.
Yeah, variation on treasure maps, basically. When
yeah,
you've got some pictures of some places, and you have to go and find these places and find a music box. You know, these standard things they have in these free roaming games that you get.
Yeah.
But it's quite good. Like, I have to say, it's quite good. And London, that Victorian London, it's really well represented in it.
Yeah, I think that was something that did strike me, and it does look amazing in terms of the setting and everything. And
I took a screenshot of me standing, like my character, I'll say me, my character standing outside Big Ben on the bridge there, and I can't remember what the bridge is called, but I stood in the exact spot that me and my girlfriend had her picture taken and sent it to her. And I think it confused her a bit because you didn't know what was going on.
Is that you?
Yeah, what's going on here? But it's exactly the same. They've got the railings on the bridge are identical to how they look now and stuff like that. It's they've really captured it quite well. So yeah, Assassin's Creed Syndicate is a game I will continue to play and enjoy.
You're not just going to put it down at this point.
Nah,
good.
I'm not going to ceremoniously burn it or anything.
Yeah, sick of this. Fair enough. Well,
so any more video games?
For myself, I have
been playing Metal Gear Solid.
Basically, yeah. I almost like just in service of doing this episode, I managed to drag myself away from it for a short period of time to continue the game which you left on your computer, which I've been playing, Jurassic Park Operation Genesis.
Woo! And when did this game come out?
Was it 2005, I believe?
You know what? I'm going to go and look this up for you while while you talk about it. Tell me about this.
The researchers on the case. Yeah, I think. What is it? To really just boil it down, it's essentially theme park, but Jurassic Park setting. You know, and you're hatching or certainly genetically engineering dinosaurs, then hatching them and putting them into pens and making people look at it. It's, essentially the whole Jurassic Park thing has worked. Everything's been fine. They can do it, and they're just inviting people to come on helicopter rides to come and look at this island that you've constructed. And it was quite fun.
You know what surprised me about it is this actually quite a good game.
Yeah. I mean, I would say like the theme park comparison does it a bit of disservice, but then it does have a lot of the elements and a lot of the management stuff that the theme park and the similar games have. The kind of slightly frustrating management elements, researching things and having to mollycoddle your customers and give them what they want. And feed them and
so you got that sort of micromanagement
eaten by
thing that
dinosaurs or like blown about the place by a hurricane.
That's what you want to do in this game, though. Is like you want to just get more dinosaurs, and there's a whole research thing, isn't there? That
you've got you have to go
dig some places up, don't you?
Yeah, you have to go and dig for fossils, and then you get those fossils. And like you need to get like a certain amount. There's like a percentage of like the quality of the DNA that you're going to get. That's going to. I think it is if you hit like 50%, you can start. Getting those animals, but they might have like problems like diseases and things like that. So you have to kind of keep getting more and more better remains. So far, I haven't uncovered a huge amount. I got a couple of herbivores. I mean, you start off with.
I think it's with like one carnivore and a couple of herbivores.
Yeah, well, you don't. I don't think you even get the carnivore because it's like Albertosaurus. I think you do have to. Certainly, I had to research that one.
Albertosaurus.
Hello, I'm Albert. Thesaurus. Would you like a cup of tea? And there's a Pachycephalosaurus, I believe.
Obviously,
that's what it's called. And the ones with the heads, the head butt things.
Oh yeah, the ramming dinosaur.
The ramming dino. Ramming dinos.
Everyone's favourite ramming dinosaur.
So I've got them so far, and the idea being that I would quite like to build up a nice big park. I think you're advocating basically causing chaos, and I don't have anything against that. But
I'm so impatient with that game.
I'd like to have the park set up. I want to get up to like I don't just want Albertosaurus running around. I like this sheep, and then I like this person, and then I want to build up to like some proper, some legendary carnivores. Get the raptors.
But you're just going to keep them in their pens, though, aren't you?
They'll get out soon enough. Man. But I want all of them before I can
I don't
unleash
think
them.
You've got the cojones to actually
I ain't got
let
the stones.
That T-Rex free. Free the T-Rex, man.
I don't know. I do reach a point with most of those kind of games where I'm like, can't be bothered with this anymore. And I think when that hits, I'll just unleash the dinosaurs can go roam free.
Excellent.
And Robert Muldoon will be going, you can let me out in the chopper. I'll take these. And I'll be, no, you just stay there, son. I actually put the ranger station on like the other side of a mountain range from everything else. And obviously they've got the helicopter, but just to give them a bit of bother in case they do actually have to save the day at any point.
Well, I'm just looking on Wikipedia here, Euan, at the page
top research
for Operation
there.
Genesis. Yeah, Wikipedia, it's the go-to thing. If you've not heard of Wikipedia, people, it's an online encyclopedia.
I'm glad you.
Which anyone can edit.
Yes. Be amazing if somebody had just for a laugh decided to go into the Operation Jurassic Park Operation Genesis page and just muck about with trivial information like what year it was released and things like that.
Well, having said that, it came out in March 2003.
2003.
Although, if you lived in Japan, you had to wait another 4 months for it, which must have been hell.
Aye, well. It's all the bureaucracy. Various ministries fighting over who gets control of Jurassic Park. Is it the land division? Is it telecommunications? Is it the construction ministry? We don't know. Public Works.
We just don't know.
Yeah.
Well, it's quite interesting because apparently it came out in the PlayStation 2, according to this, and the Xbox.
Really?
Which is quite surprising. But according to this one line here, while the PlayStation 2 version is fairly common, the PC/Xbox versions of the game are generally considered to be some of the rarest and most expensive titles for the system, with copies of the game often selling on eBay for upwards of $100.
And now, this version that you're rocking on that computer.
Yes. Ask no further questions.
Right, okay, fair enough. I was trying to work out how to frame it, but yeah, fair enough. I think I get my answer there. So
we'd have to call in my lawyer if you've gone any further with that.
So. We'll contact legal counsel.
Actually, I don't know.
Yeah, it's just there.
Right,
that's the thing.
It's there. I don't know where it came from, but it's there. I don't remember anything else about it.
It just appeared one day.
That's the official line.
Right. Okay. I'll go with that.
Apparently, the game is also quite well known for fan mods because apparently it's the way the files are structured. It's very easy to modify, according to this.
Oh,
so maybe you should look into getting some fan mods for it because I bet some of those are interesting.
Or doing some. Let's not let Craig anywhere near this.
No. He has to make an Alan Partridge song.
An Alan Partridge Park. I'd watch that.
Just by the way, our friend Craig has been modifying lots of Minecraft stuff to add Alan Partridge into it.
If you've encountered any mods of any game that are heavily Alan Partridge themed,
it's
probably been him.
My favourite was his Quake 3 one. With lots and lots and lots of Alan Partridge bots all running around. Every time they jumped on a jump pad, they went, "Mine's a pint." It was chaos. Absolute chaos.
Well, yeah, I certainly so far have enjoyed this Jurassic Park game. Being a fan of Jurassic Park, for it's one of those.
What about Genesis? Are you a fan of Genesis?
Not really.
What about Operations?
I think doing an operation on Genesis might be educational.
And fun.
Yeah, why not? I don't have a problem with that. I just don't particularly want to listen to any Genesis.
Okay. But the whole thing, as a whole, Jurassic Park Operation Genesis.
I'm for it. It's obviously it's in the old style Jurassic Park. I mean, for me, Jurassic Park is the most important film
of our time.
Or
all time.
Yeah, of all time. I think for some people have this unreasonable love of Star Wars.
It is quite unreasonable, that.
It's completely unreasonable, completely irrational, and just generally bloody-minded.
Star Wars was just
bloody-minded enjoyment of Star of a
It was written on the back of a fag packet, I think, Star Wars, and just made up as they went along.
Or traced from the back of an Akira Kurosawa video. But yeah, for me it is that important. It is important, more important than it's my Star Wars.
Right.
That's how I feel about it. When people get unreasonably emotional about these things, that's why I liked both of the sequels. But I'll confess now, I've yet to see Jurassic World.
Have you?
I've only heard bad things about it.
I've got it, so I've not watched it yet.
All right, well, maybe
we should
watch that at some point.
Cuddle up on the couch together.
Oh, that'll be lovely. When we put our onesies on, will we get one of those snuggle rugs?
Let's not do that.
Okay,
so Operation Genesis.
Yes, I give it.
Despite it being 12 years old.
Yeah, despite it being 12 years old, and we don't know where it came from. I give it 12 out of 15 dinosaur bones.
Good. I'm glad.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else in video game chat? Fallout 4's out soon.
Yes.
A couple of weeks, I think. Is it mid-November, I think it's coming out?
Is it?
Or is it earlier than that?
I don't know. The research is going on. Well,
we're researching this episode as we go.
If we continue, on that vein... well, actually, that would require more research. But yeah, I think you're probably right.
November the 10th is coming out, so that's a week tomorrow.
That's next week. Yeah.
So as we record, so that's next Tuesday.
Yeah,
November the 10th, 2015.
Remember
just in case you're listening to this in the
dates,
future,
folk. Yeah,
or the past.
We'll hold up a newspaper to the microphone so you can believe us.
So Fallout 4. I'm quite excited about that. I think I might pre-order it this weekend.
And is that going to be a PS4 purchase?
No,
for you? It's going to be a PC.
No, this is
all the way.
Fallout is just like
it's PC for you.
It's PC for me. I've played the Fallout game since the original one that nobody cared about. All right. I'm not one of these bandwagon jumpers. When Fallout 3 came out, everybody went, "Oh my god,
I love this game."
I've been playing Fallout. I've played Fallout 2. Fallout Tactics.
You're very defensive of your Fallout pedigree.
I've also played Fallout 3.
Yes.
I've played New Vegas as well.
Okay.
That's Fallout New Vegas.
You've played Fallout New Vegas.
Yes. I do get a bit wound up about Fallout, actually.
You do get a bit.
When Fallout 3 came out and everybody started buying it, I was like, you fucking bastards. I've been worshipping this series since the start.
I only knew of the series by name and sort of a vague reputation of it being quite good, but couldn't really tell me more about that.
That's just my generally bitter nature when it comes to these things anyway. So,
well, I suppose you've got, because obviously we did talk a bit about XCOM 2 coming out, and that's one for me. I generally put in a similar box where it's got an older set of games that has a fairly big fan base, and now it's suddenly appeared as this thing that everybody loves.
Yeah.
A new trailer for that out, I believe, but I've yet to see it. So maybe we'll
I've
save
known
that
it's a
for
new
another
trailer.
time.
Yeah, maybe let's not
really-
chat about that right now.
Yeah,
Okay, I think that's pretty much it for video games, isn't it?
yeah, I think we've...
I mean, I've been playing a lot of Rocket League and a wee bit of Minecraft for some reason, but probably because I want to see Craig's mods. But
Well, I mean, like Minecraft, a comprehensive chat about Minecraft would just be pretty much endless. So we'll not.
especially the world we created, everything's on fire. Right, so let's wrap that up there. We'll move on to board games, and we've got a couple of those to chat about. So we'll see you after a break.
And now we move on to board games.
That was very BBC Radio 2.
And now we move on to board games. And afterwards, Nigel Kennedy will rejoin us. Yeah, we're going to talk about, in the main, we're going to talk about Lancaster.
Lancaster.
Of
The
which
board game.
You recently received the big box.
Yes, I did. I received the big box. Now,
got the big box.
It's something I backed on Kickstarter, but it was based entirely on the fact that you had played it at a Games Day thing when I was playing something else when we were there.
So I had the advantage of actually having played this one before you,
Yeah, that's true.
and I still lost.
Aye. Oh no, I
Oh
lost.
god,
lost.
I forgot you lost.
I lost. But,
That was again another Pawel,
aye.
another Pawel travesty, a pavesty.
But yeah, I'd got this game just based entirely on your. You said it was pretty good.
Yeah, I seem to remember enjoying it. I think it was one of these ones that I sort of came in. Everybody sort of had a bit of time to look at it,
Yeah.
and I sort of sat down at the table and they're like, "Right, we're good, we're ready to go. You do this, and this." I'm like, "What?" So, but
So
I managed to just about hold on.
Tell me about Lancaster then. You've played it twice now, so.
Yeah, Lancaster is a game set in 13th century England.
15th century England.
England. Oh, sorry, I'm working the wrong way around. I always do that. And it's based around sort of political intrigue and using like you're all playing basically as like the head of like a noble family or something. I think is the
Something
idea.
along those
Yeah.
lines, aye.
So you've got your knights and your castle, and you use the knights basically as your actions for the round,
Yeah, pretty much.
and your castle sort of gives you certain bonuses depending on what you do with it.
Yeah.
And there's various things you can do with your knights. You can send them to various towns.
Counties in England. So, aye, so it's played on a map of England, really, which is separated into 9
So you can
rough
send them to like
counties.
Surrey or wherever.
Straight out of Surrey.
Surrey's the only place I can think of in England. Shows you my geography skills and history skills.
Like, they've got Dorset and Somerset and York and all these kind of things.
Okay.
But it's all England.
Yeah, yeah. Notably, they don't have Kent.
But they don't have Kent, but I think that's included as part of Surrey in this.
All right, fair enough.
I don't know if that was true back in the day.
Seems unlikely.
It's 1413. Things are a bit up in the air.
Yeah. So yeah, you can visit these counties and you can get various bonuses depending on what you
Where you place your knights.
Yeah. Or you can take a counter for the local lord, local nobleman, and they're all very amusing.
Yeah.
It just happens to be the way that they're drawn.
I did come up with a rather crude story about the nobleman I had at my table.
The way that they were set out, they were kind of they did follow your story there. And then there's the one guy that just inexplicably looks like Mark Thomas. So yeah, you can get those, and they sort of give you a bonus. They give you bonuses throughout the game, and also like points at the end.
Points
of the
at
game.
the end, yeah. Quite a lot of points if you get a lot of them.
Oh yeah. It could be a game changer.
Like, good.
You can also send them off to. You can send your knights off to war in France.
Yeah.
And they can be lost there. You end up having to sort of ransom them back.
Yeah.
But again, obviously, if you're successful in prosecuting your wars, you get various bonuses for doing that. And
Generally
points.
lots of points.
Yeah.
Especially for the bigger battles.
Yeah. I kind of went on a more military route, I think.
I think you did, aye.
Yeah.
I went on a more, I have no idea what's going on route.
And the kind of... Is there anything else? You can also put your knights into your castle to get whatever bonus from part of your castle.
It's quite, like, on the surface of it, there's a lot going on in Lancaster. There's a lot of choices that you've got. But essentially it all just comes down to wherever you put your knights. Yeah. And you can bully each other. So the knights have different levels. They range from 1 to 4, but there's only a certain number that each player gets. So I think there's 3 level 1s and 2 level 2s, 1 3 and 1 4.
I would actually say that, like, thinking about it, that's probably one of the most interesting mechanics in the game, is the way the knights work, because you have a lot of these kind of like worker placement or is it Euro games where, you can make, there might be certain like actions denoted by pawns or like, you know, your certain number of workers or something you might have.
Yeah.
That you can maybe increase as the game goes on, but I don't think I've played anything that's kind of set up quite like this. In terms of the, you know, knights having different strengths and you have to try and upgrade your army and things like that, but that also upgrades your sort of, the things you can do, you know, your kind of your options. So I think it's quite unique in that way.
So what you can do is you can stick a knight into a county, but somebody can come along with a better knight, or a knight with more squires, because you get little squire markers as well, and they can basically kick you out of that county. Whatever county it is you're in. Well, that's the only place it can happen. It's in the counties itself, because you can't do it in the wars or in the cast.
Well, there's different ways of trolling people in the wars.
Aye, but so like if you've got a level 2 knight in York and I come along with a level 2 knight and 1 squire, that's essentially 3 points of strength against your 2. So I can just boot you out of York. But you then get the chance to put your knight somewhere else anyway. So you've not really. You may have lost what you were going for,
your knights and you'll still be able to take, you know,
it doesn't,
basically put them all into something.
It doesn't overly punish you.
And it does leave room for a bit of kind of little bit of intrigue there, and that certainly that specific part of the game, and going into the towns or the counties or whatever, and you know, because you do have a little screen to keep your money and your squires hidden. Yeah,
that's true. Aye.
So you can kind of keep, you know, you can play your hand very cleverly and kind of like kick people out at the right time, or you know, wait until everybody's got everything down and then play your squires, knock people out, so they might have already played all their squires, so they can't do anything to you.
Yeah, that's right. Aye. So it is quite interesting.
Yeah.
But so once you've placed all your knights in, so you're either putting your knights in your counties or in your castle or in your wars. You have a government phase.
Yeah.
Which is another part of the game which I found really quite interesting, actually. So there's always 3 laws in play, and there are 3 new laws to be voted on. And this is where your noblemen come in, because for every nobleman you've got, you get an extra vote. So you basically have a vote on the new laws, one at a time. So you get the first new law, and then you either decide whether you approve of this new law or you don't approve of it, and then you throw in however many votes that you want. So if there's a law that you feel particularly strongly about, you can vote either for or against it with as many voting markers as you have handy. And you pretty much have to use your voting markers because you lose them at the end of every round. But these laws do some interesting things. So like some of them are really specific. Some of them are like, you know, if you have a level 2 knight and you get, you know, 2 extra squires or something like that. And everybody gets the benefit of this law sort of thing. And there are just like other ones that just give you points for whatever reason, you know, if you've got
got more than, I think it's like there was one, I think the only one I really got the benefit of at any one point was having it was to have like more than knights in more than one like maybe like 2 different conquests.
Yeah. That's
and you
right.
get points
2
for that.
Wars,
I mean, I found, like you say, it's definitely an interesting aspect to the game, and I think it was one that frustrated me probably more than anything. And I remember this being an issue when I played it back a few years ago at the gaming Edinburgh Unplugged, was that I just never seemed to be able to position myself to take advantage of these laws, and I found myself then becoming less involved in the voting. Because I was just like, it's just going to cock up anyway. It's not going to do what I want it to do. It's not going to be the thing I want. And then
you get a victim complex.
Well, no, you start becoming very negative, where you're just going to be like, well, I'm just going to be like, oh, so and so wants this, so I'm just going to like vote no to everything, basically. Like,
he clearly wants this, so I'm totally voting against it.
I don't know, and it seemed to be one where it's like the luck of the draw will sort of benefit you, and I think you kind of. I think the thing is to stay engaged in it.
Yeah.
You can't sort of lose hope, like I did.
Well, like I say, I found the lost thing to be actually one of the most interesting bits of the game. Definitely.
I know,
actually getting the players themselves to decide how the game changes.
Aye.
By a vote sort of thing is definitely something that I've really quite liked about Lancaster.
And it's that lovely sort of feudalistic, corrupt voting system where it's like, I've say yes, but I've also thrown in all these guys.
All these noblemen support me all of a sudden.
I've slipped them a few ducats.
But yeah, well, once you've done the lost thing, you have a resolution thing, which is basically where you go through the whole board and then figure out what's happened. So all your knights that are in your counties any bonuses you get them at that point at the end of the round, basically. And there are like a number of different sort of things that you get, and I'm just having a quick look because I can't really remember. But like you can get like extra squires and stuff. Like Surrey gives you like 2 squires and 2 coins.
2 coins?
2 coins, yeah. And you've got things like
upgrades.
Stafford and Gloucester will let you upgrade your knights to something else, and York and Suffolk give you new level 1 knights. Which was one of the things that I had massive issues with in this game, was the fact is that I realised about halfway through the game that I had fuck all knights basically.
No, I think I was in a similar position that I just didn't put enough emphasis on it at the start. When I think you really need to.
Yeah, I think so. Because I think I went sort of thing, right, I need better knights rather than more knights.
Aye.
And that was the problem that I had. Because then I had good knights, but I had less actions to take. Because
I think that was the thing. I was like probably one of the first players to get a level 4 knight, but it really didn't do me a lot of good.
Exactly. I think I was just behind you as well in getting the level 4 knight, and it just it really didn't really help that
building
much.
up his little army there.
Yeah, Pawel just basically went mad with it. He just like got so many knights that he had so many actions every turn.
Yeah, so you're always going to be at an advantage there.
Yeah, and then you resolve like the battles in France, and the battles are basically they're just cards that have a number on them, and this is just the strength of the battle, and you basically have to, and it's like a cooperative thing. This each player can all the players can be involved in one battle sort of thing if they want to be.
You all send your knights
3 players, I think, actually.
Yeah. You're all essentially fighting for the King of England.
Basically,
against each other.
And whoever has put knights into that battle will get points depending on how strong their little army is. So if you put in like knights worth a total of 4 or something, the next player puts in a knights worth 3, then you get the most points because you put the most knights in, the strongest knights in even. And they change depending on how hard the battle is, so you get more points for the harder battles and stuff like that. And then, what else? The castles. Yeah, the castles are quite an interesting one. Because you can put your knights in your castle. You can also upgrade your castle as part... one of the counties lets you do it.
Well, there's basically... your castle's broken up. You've got a little player board with where you'd also put your noblemen as well. But your castle on there has... I think there's like six segments or something like that.
6 or 7,
something like that. With each with a kind of a bonus assigned to it. So you can put your knights on those spaces during your turn to get that bonus, but you can also, if you upgrade your castle on these certain parts, you can get those bonuses as basically every turn you'll just get that bonus automatically from your castle.
Aye, and
so upgrading your castle again is also pretty important.
I think that's it wasn't something that we went mad for, but I think we all kind of realised that it was a pretty good move, because it was like, especially upgrading your castle and not just using knights on it. It was almost a waste of knights doing that.
I had no time for putting knights on my castle. I think it was one of those things that it's almost like a consolation.
Yeah. If there's nowhere else to put your knight, if you've been kicked out of somewhere by somebody else, then stick it in your castle and you'll get something at least. Yeah. But some of those were quite good, because some of them were like, you get to upgrade your knights, or you get to get a new level 1 knight if you spend something or whatever. And getting that bonus every round by upgrading your castle, getting one of those bonuses is actually pretty powerful.
Oh, yeah, I was getting this.
I think
it
did make a difference.
Money and Squires route.
Aye, I think I did something similar to that. But you get various points at the end of the game as well. points for all the noblemans, and it's one of these things that the more noblemen you have, the higher amount of points that you get. I think if you only have one, you don't get anything.
Yeah.
But if you get like 9 noblemen, you get something like 36 points or something like that.
Exponential things. It's like
yeah. But you get like points, if you have the highest strength total in your knighthood, you get 8 points at the end of the game. If you have the most extensions in your castles, the most upgrades even, you get 8 power points for that. And, at the end of the game, there's only, 5 rounds?
It's not a lot.
So it's not really a long game,
no.
But there's still a lot going on in it. I still felt 5 rounds. I actually think 5 rounds is probably about the right length for it. Just at the end of the game, whoever's got the most points wins.
Yes,
it's sort of standard Euro game for that, but I don't think it is really a standard Euro game. I think we've got a lot of sort of really Euro feeling games, and I didn't really get a massive Euro feeling out of Lancaster. There's obviously a lot of Euro stuff going on in it, but I felt so much. I think in some Euro games you can feel kind of withdrawn from the other players, and in Lancaster I felt like we were constantly battling with each other as well as trying to do the best for yourself, sort of thing.
Yeah, I think because that there's a couple of bits of quite direct competition, which some Euro games maybe don't have. You might affect each other in certain ways, but they tend to be slightly more indirect.
It's indirect stuff. But
in
Lancaster, there was a lot of direct stuff going on.
I mean, you're like just kicking people out of the counties. It's quite it's a very sort of forceful move, and
or throwing more knights into a battle, more powerful knights into a battle to steal the highest amount of points off of somebody. Even if the battle was pretty much already won by that point, you could still just if you had a strength 5 battle and 2 people had put in a 3. One person had put in a 3, another person had put in a 2. You could just throw a 4 in there and take the highest amount of points.
If you've got the time and if you've got the space,
that's it. Just overkill that battle.
You can steal a lot of points from people that way. I guess I don't know. It does have like Eurogamey elements that I found that were quite.
It definitely does.
Yeah, I mean, like where the kind of the way the sort of the scoring rounds and stuff work and everything. It does feel quite Eurogamey to me anyway.
I'm not saying it isn't. I'm just saying that it has a slightly different feel from.
Not that I mind that.
games.
I'm a big fan of
those
games.
I mean, big fans of the Euros in this.
We do like the Euro games.
Podcast.
Yeah,
big fans.
We'll get that out of the way now. if it hasn't already been made clear.
I just like games.
I know.
But yeah, Lancaster. I'm really want to play it again.
Yeah.
And like we say, we just played the base game, even though I got the big box version, because this is one of these Queen game big box things that they've been doing a lot of.
We had Escape.
I've got the Escape big box there, which is something we really should talk about at some point.
We should.
It's a brilliant game.
I think we've skirted the issue a couple of times and then realised that it's one that we've played a lot of and we could probably talk about.
And so basically, big box versions in Queen games, they just basically come with the base game and some expansions.
Yeah.
So there are some expansions in this box that we haven't even looked at yet, and some of them look quite interesting.
Yeah.
And they make the game a bit more. From what I can tell, they make the game they add a couple of new rules, but they make things a wee bit more interesting. And there's one here that's like there's different offices that the players can compete for, like the Lord High Chancellor and the Lord High Constable, and you get some sort of bonus for getting those offices and stuff like that. And there's some other basic things, like there's just some new laws to replace the old laws that come in the base game that sort of make things a bit more interesting as well. I think some of those apply to the other expansions too. So like you can only play with the new laws if you play with everything basically that's in the box.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I would actually really like to play it again at some point. Well, I hope so, because I paid quite a bit of money for
it. Well, hopefully we'll get the opportunity. Yeah, I think I'd almost be happy just to play the base game again. A couple of times before sort of getting really into
before we get a bit crazy with it.
Yeah. It's nice to get a feel for what the game's about before you start sort of modifying the rules and seeing what you can what you can do with it.
Right, so that's the Lancaster big box from Queen Games. The original game came out in 2011, I think, and this big box version came out this year, 2015. It's by Matthias Kramer, is the designer. So check that one out. You want to give it some Lancasters, Euan? How many Lancasters?
I'll give it 7 out of 10 happy squires, leaving the remaining 3 sodomised squires.
I'm sure there was a lot of that going on.
Yeah, they're not particularly happy. It's like the 120 days of Sodom, except taking place in England.
I'm not doing that again.
No, the shit eating was enough for me.
Okay, shall we talk about another board game then?
I think we've got time to cover something else.
We'll quickly talk about another board game, which is a fun little favourite of yours.
It's one we've cracked it a few times when we just haven't been able to think of another game to play, and we maybe not had the time to really get into something. It's
Walkstar, which is a Game Salute game, or I think this version is.
By Game Salute.
Yes, and it's designed by a guy called Tim Fowers, I believe. And the original came out in 2010, but I think it was a really sort of basic looking game. From the pictures I remember of it, it almost looked like a prototype.
Right.
But this has been sort of redesigned by Game Salute, and it's another one that I got on Kickstarter actually. But it was one that since the original came out, I was really wanting to get, and it took them so long to actually get a redesign of it. Sort of thing.
By
there's
a dog.
There's a barking dog outside.
It's good we don't get a lot of police sirens on that either, is it?
I'm just not used to noise here.
Just distressed dogs.
But yeah, there was a bit of an issue with this game when I got it though. When I backed it on Kickstarter, it took them so long to get this game designed.
When did you initially back it?
I can't remember the exact dates, but it took months longer than it was promised, basically. And they blamed the whole thing on this silly little electronic timer that comes with the game. I think the original just came with some sand timers or something like that.
Well, you could probably get the same effect with the sand. Although, I don't know, actually, it does kind of make the game what it is, I think.
Yeah, I quite like the electronic timer, but it doesn't take months to design this electronic timer. Now, I've seen this electronic timer, Euan.
Oh,
I don't know about you.
Well, I've looked at it.
And
I kind of checked at the bottom of it as well, just to see if there was any engravings.
I'm sure any electronic student at college could design this thing.
Maybe. It might be. Maybe is it not the plastics side of things that can be...
Is that the tricky bit?
I think that could be the tricky bit, is getting the plastic.
It's basically just a round plastic timer that ticks and then goes ding, ding, ding.
Aye. That is it.
But there was a lot of controversial statements made about Game Salute around this time and the way that they were running their Kickstarters. And I don't want to sort of politicise this whole thing, but I will never back a Game Salute game again.
Really? You feel that strongly about it?
I do, because quite a lot of what was going on around that time just seemed so sketchy. And it's almost like the general consensus seems to be that they didn't have as much money as they said they did, and they were putting up Kickstarters for other board games to pay for the ones that they'd already done.
So there's probably Game Salute ones out there that are black holes.
Yeah, that are going nowhere.
Get done.
Aye,
that's quite interesting. Yeah,
so it wasn't just Walkstar. There was a massive list on Board Game Geek, all the games that Game Salute have put up on Kickstarter and how long it was taking them to do it, and it just went on and on.
Right. Okay. So this wasn't something that was isolated. Because I would have thought that might be a bit of a strong stance to take over, the delay with the bell.
Aye. I mean, I say I would never back one a game. It'd have to be a pretty fucking good game that I've been looking for. If they came out with Heroescape or something like that, a re-release of that, then I would probably have to back it. I'd have to just throw all
again. You'd probably expect them to take a game like that, a big game like that, quite seriously. So
yeah. But anyway, having said all that, Walkstar.
Let's talk about the actual game.
Let's not just me ranting about this game company. Walkstar's actually a brilliant little game.
Love it.
It's basically you're running a Chinese takeaway kitchen thing. And you're playing as members of the Wang family, obviously.
Of course.
And each player has their own little card, which I am showing you right now.
I'm looking at
them. He remembers them.
They're all various Chinese caricatures.
Yes, and they're all called Wang. So Mr. Wang, Grandma Wang, Lily Wang, Chris Wang.
Chris Wang, well, that's the Chinese you.
Yep. They all have
because his real name's Chris Dick.
It's not.
Okay.
Right. They all have their own sort of special power that they can use during the game. And basically what happens is that there's a bunch of different stations in this kitchen, and you all decide who runs what station. So you may have a chicken station or a, pepper station, and what else have we got? Mushroom and peanut, and chicken broth, sweet and sour sauce. Everybody gets
preparation for each food, each ingredient that's required.
That's it, and everybody gets at least one of these stations.
Yeah.
It's generally people will have multiple of them. And at the start of the game, there's a preset thing that you can do, so you can start with a preset bunch of recipes sort of thing, or you can just randomise them and throw in whatever you want. And that's how we've been playing it lately, because actually it's much more fun that way, I think, when you've got to just deal with some random stuff.
And you might sort of err towards choosing stuff that's going to make things a little bit easier for you, but those are the kind of difficult decisions, tactical decisions you might make later on in the game, when you can start buying. You build up money. Is it 3 rounds you play? Sorry,
4.
You were saying 4 rounds, yeah. Aye, because the 4th one's your
grand opening.
Yeah.
So the first 3 days in the kitchen seem to be practice days.
It's just you testing it out against your mates, basically.
I mean, just to get more into the mechanics of this, so we get a bit of a feel for it. We've got like a bunch of recipes basically, and then there's just some like pretty standard Chinese food, although some that I've never heard of, like mugu gai pan. I don't know what that is.
Mugu gai pan. I'm not. I mean, I'm gonna take a guess that it's some kind of rice.
Could well be. It doesn't look like it from this weird picture, but
I don't know.
Anyway, you get stuff like wonton soup and fried rice and lo mein, egg rolls, shrimp and garlic sauce.
Yeah. If anyone knows what mugu gai pan is as well, feel free to contact us. Yeah, it would be
right, so you have like your wonton soup, for example. That only has 2 ingredients. It has chicken broth and egg roll wraps. So you have a deck of cards which are just orders basically. So if you draw a card from that deck which has wonton soup on it, you have to make wonton soup. So you've got a board in the middle of the table which has got, it's basically just numbers 1 to 6 in a sort of wok shape.
That's just to represent a huge wok that you're cooking all of your food in.
Yep, and you have counters to represent all different ingredients, and then you put your counter on however many of that each ingredient you have. And then if somebody comes in asking for wonton soup, you look at the wonton soup card, it says chicken broth, egg roll wraps, so you would move chicken broth and egg roll wraps down a space, and then that's that customer served.
Yeah.
And you move on to the next person. You hit the time,
and it resets.
You'd say the timer, this is where it comes in. So you've only got a certain amount of time to do each one.
Yeah.
Now that sounds really basic because you're just moving stuff down, but what actually happens is that you've generally not got the stuff that you need, and this is where the stations come in. So each player's got their station. So if we needed chicken broth, so let me find the chicken broth card, which is here. You've got some dice that you roll. Each player starts with 3 dice. You can get some more as the game goes on, and you can use your dice, spend your dice if you're in charge. So if I'm in charge of the chicken broth here, I can use any number to just put chicken broth up by 1. I can use a 5 to put it up by 2, or I can use on the chicken broth card it says 2 odd numbers to put it up by 3.
Yeah. So there's usually specific ones for each.
Yeah. So sweet and sour sauce. Ingredient. Shrimp. It's any number for 1, 3 for 2, and a pair of numbers for 3.
Right.
And you have to do all this while the clock is ticking.
Yeah.
And because you're only rolling, say, 3 dice at the start of the game, you might not have a 5, or you might not have a 3, you might not get what you want, or you might not have 2 odds. So you can get dice from other people. So you have to communicate with each other.
Yeah.
And this is where the whole madness is going on of people trying to figure out, like, do I need this dice and that dice, and who can I get back to?
Because you're trying to keep yourself set for the next, the next dish that's going to come out, because you might go, oh, well, I'll just put any random dice in just to get the one ingredient. You do that at the start of the game, that's a whole dice gone.
Yeah, that's a whole dice gone.
And you might not have any more of that ingredient left, so you're going to fail to make a whole bunch of your dishes.
Aye, and this is just where the madness comes in, because you have to talk to each other, but at the same time, you can get totally lost in this game and just get too focused on one thing. The whole time the clock is ticking, you've only got like 20 seconds to serve a customer or something like that. And if you're just going mad with trying to get chicken broth together, and forgetting completely that you also need egg roll wraps.
It almost seems designed to induce that feeling of like, this should be simple, but I have just frozen in space and can't do anything.
That's exactly what it does. You just sit there and go, right, threes. I need a 3. Is there a 3?
I think the thing is that you do find yourself either going that way or just having to be quite decisive about it. It's like that. You need that. Take this. Or, just do it.
Well, that's it. And the panic almost does set in because you're just like you hear that clock ticking with that timer sort of thing, and you do just start throwing dice at people. Just like use that quick. Just go.
We need more chicken broth. We don't have enough. We don't have any shrimp.
So basically you do that until the customer deck runs out. And the customer deck is predetermined. You never get customers that come in asking for something you can't make. Because you almost start the game with like, was it 3 or 4 recipes or something like that.
Well, when you set up the deck for the customers, you take for the recipes you've got, there'll be a certain number of customer cards for ordering that you shuffle.
And it's one for each player, basically. Yeah. So if you're playing a 3-player game, there's 3 of those go into a deck, and you shuffle up. And there's also events in the deck. We won't worry about those too much, but I know they do stuff like, makes you pass your stations around and stuff, and sometimes it can give you free ingredients, sometimes it makes you lose them, sometimes there's one particularly questionable
we were thinking this might not be
it's I need to free meat, it's called, and we'll just say that as a picture of a dog and a cat on it. Doing really well there for international relations. I'm
not saying it doesn't happen, but it's probably, but it doesn't help to just to make that the focus of a game.
Point it out.
But, most of those places do get shut down.
But yeah. What was I saying before we started going on about that? Yeah.
Bonuses.
Right, so you've got the decks.
Yeah.
The decks of cards. And the customers run out, and sometimes you get to the end of a round and you can't actually serve a customer, so you have to put that card aside. But at the end of the round, each of the cards has got a number on it that tells you how much money you make for serving that customer.
Yeah.
And it's usually somewhere between like $2 and $5.
Well, it doesn't get it's generally so low that they don't write a numerical amount; they just draw a number of dollar bills on the card. So
at the end of each round, you count up the number of how much money you made, basically. You also get bonus money for having used other people's dice and not just your own. Mm-hmm. And some of the character cards will give some bonus money as well. And then you have that amount of money to buy new recipes or to upgrade stations. So, if you upgrade the shrimp station, it goes from, a 3 gives you 2 in the basic one, but then if a number 3 gives you 3 in the advanced upgraded one. So you can upgrade your stations, you can buy more recipes. Buying more recipes generally involves having to use more ingredients as well, which means that you have to put a new station in.
Yeah.
So, if you added in the hot and sour soup recipe, you might have to add mushrooms and peanuts in if you didn't have it already, which means new station for somebody. Yeah.
Well, this is the thing that starts happening where you kind of have this thing where you're equivocating. It's like, oh, well, if we take another recipe that's got like all ingredients that we're already using, that'll be better. But then I think what we learned quite quickly was that that's probably not necessarily very good, because you're just going to have... you're going to be using more of those ingredients anyway, so you are actually almost better just spreading yourself out a bit.
You can, and I think the other thing is that spreading out the dice that are required as well, because, like a shrimp needs a 3, but so does the egg roll wraps.
Yeah.
And so just having a load of ingredients that all need the same number on dice is probably not a great idea.
But you are going to pretty much have to get new dishes on the menu.
You will if you want to win the game.
Yeah, because you're just not going to make enough money in a round if you don't do it.
Because at the end of the 4th round, and this is obviously a completely cooperative game, and at the end of the 4th round, you have to have made a certain amount of money depending on how many players there are. I think in a full 4-player game, you need to have made $80 worth. Yeah. So you do have to buy new recipes, because you won't make that much money on the basics that you start with. So you do have to invest. You have to spend money to make money, Euan.
Yes. Like a real restaurant.
That's the lesson I've come out of Walkstar with. Yeah. Other than don't buy anything from Game Salute.
I think a lot of board games could have taught you the investment stuff, whereas only
a lot of board games that do that.
only a select list of board games could have taught you that about Kickstarters.
Right, so Walkstar, Euan. I think it's brilliant fun. It's crazy. It plays pretty quickly. You play the whole game in less than half an hour if you want. And it's a pretty good laugh. Wow. But you do feel like it's just, like you say, it's designed to make you feel stupid.
It's a bit. It's a good party game for a sober party.
Aye.
Yeah.
I don't want to play this drunk.
No.
I'd probably cry and probably feel really hungry as well.
Well, exactly. I mean, there's no point playing a game that's going to make you hungry and you pretty much know from the outset you're going to fail at. So, I very much enjoyed it. I'd give that 5 steaming pork buns.
You want a pork bun?
Yeah, I do. These guys want to give you a pork bun.
Sleeping dogs.
That deserves a weird game, that one.
Right, so I think that wraps up board games and the episode.
Yeah, it does indeed.
What did you think of this episode, Euan?
Quite enjoyed it.
Did you?
I didn't feel we had to stop that many times.
No, we didn't actually. This is one of the first episodes where we've pretty much just run straight through it.
It's probably as I've just started it pretty much just coming in from work and my mind's still
still slightly
active,
engaged.
It's been a good one.
Will you come back for another?
I hope so. Yeah. Well, as I said, next week, episode 8. It's a good number, that.
That's your favourite number.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can believe that we're going to have an 8th episode.
Well, but you will have to see it and hear it, much like our listeners, to believe it.
What listeners?
Well, let's not talk about what you have to do to believe that they're real. The less said about that, the better.
Why do we always end up in some sort of existential chat? some weird dilemma.
I think because we have such a weak grasp of reality in the first place that we're constantly clutching at straws to stop ourselves just slipping away into the ether. That's also why we play board games.
Aye, that's true.
And video games, and why
we're escaping from our humdrum lives.
Exactly. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing at all.
You keep telling yourself that. Oh, we're going to do a Christmas episode. It's November now, man. We're going to have to think about a Christmas episode.
We are preparing in earnest for the Christmas festivities.
It's just round the corner, man.
It's just round the corner.
Probably maybe episode 10 or something is probably going to be 9 or 10 could be our Christmas episode.
Well,
any ideas for that? Then let us know.
Yeah,
watch there anything you want us to talk about?
You may well get
Christmas-themed video games or board games.
Any Christmas-themed? That's a very good point. That's something we will have to think about in preparation for that.
We might just have to find some terrible, terrible games to talk about.
I think there's some gems to be uncovered out there.
I'm quite looking forward to tearing into some games for Christmas. Get me right into the festive mood.
Santa, you're shite!
Okay, so that's been episode 7. Thanks for 7. 7.
Okay, 7. 7, is it?
Thanks for listening. If you have any questions, comments, etc., please email us at firstplayertoken@gmail.com. You can find us on SoundCloud, again, First Player Token, and we are on Facebook, the Large and Unnecessary First Player Token podcast, which is what we have been.
And we have been that, and I've been Euan.
And I've been Chris.
Yes.
Merry November.
Merry Nov.